sets the tone right away.
Right. And let's talk about the kids testing, because I noticed that you have a series of testing when they first come in, midway, and then at the end. What percentage of those kids that you test improve pretty dramatically from the time they come in until the time they leave?
I'd say about 70% do better and improve from what you.
That's way better than our current middle school and high school kids are doing.
Anybody we show those graphs to are just amazed. They can't believe the difference. They can't believe it. So just by chance is that a lot of the immigrant families that are here, which is what the community turned into now, they didn't graduate or didn't go past the second or third and fourth grade. And so they don't have a value of education like we do in this country. So it's work, surviving, it's work, it's surviving. So these kids that go home, they're not pushing them to read, they just don't do what you have to do with what we got as children. Go to school, do your homework, it's constantly there. Now the parents that do come to Strive, they do have a different attitude because they are bringing them to us. And there are many of these parents that do stay in the after-school programs at school, but after a week realize it's not good and they bring them to us.
We're just warehousing them sometimes at the schools, or just keeping them behind the chain link fences and just extending the playground time for 2 more hours. And we focus, of course, on the academics. In fact, I should say it's behavior we focus on first, then academics. So we stress that.
Let's talk about your instructors. You have lead instructors, and then I believe that you call them, student instructors instead of teachers. Is that semantics, or is that you can't call them teachers unless they have a credential?
We say that because out of all the teachers we have, in quotes, teachers, 2 are credentialed, and everyone else is in college or in school to become a teacher. And then others are in high school that we've had that come in as volunteers, but the majority are in college, and they're not full-fledged teachers. They're just motivated to help children.
And I noticed that a very large percentage, if not all of them, actually come from this area. Tell me how much more that helps the kids here at Strive than if it was someone who was just looking for a job in the after-school program.
Well, we hear all the time from our teachers that they were those children growing up. They understand exactly what they've gone through. Not in every case, but most of the cases. Broken homes, bad schools, finding a teacher that was motivated enough to propel them to get a good education. So they know what to say to these children, and they give the message all the time.
But there's a downside to that too, just to be completely honest. We've had to help some of our instructors unlearn some of the bad behaviors that they have gotten from this neighborhood and from these schools. And we're very honest with our teachers about what it is we want them to impart to our children. So we're not trying to drag them down. We have talks with them both one-on-one and as staff meetings about helping them improve certain either attitudes or behaviors that they learned down here. I mean, there's a reason there's a certain amount of failure down here, and we try to help them and change that behavior so they can help the kids change that behavior. So it's great that they have a street level understanding of this neighborhood and help our kids with that. But like I said, we've had to help them grow away from some of those behaviors. So,
tell me about the entrepreneurial spirit that you're instilling in the kids here at Strive, because that's obviously the environment that you guys initially came from, and that's very important because America was pretty much built with that entrepreneurial spirit. Tell me how it is, specifics of like the curriculum and things that you do to birth it out of them, so to speak.
Well, you must be thinking more about the Strive bucks and the way they earn. Mm-hmm. See, everything here, they have to earn. We don't give them pencils, papers, notebooks, anything like they do even at school. I mean, some of these schools, they give them clothes and tennis shoes. So they have to earn it here. We don't just hand it. And if it's a new kid, for example, who maybe hasn't earned Strive bucks and doesn't have an account yet or a balance, then they'll owe us, and they'll have to earn it in the next week or so. I think that might be what you mean about the entrepreneurial part of it. And we make sure these kids understand that it has to be earned. It cannot always constantly be given to you. And they value it so much more, of course. We think that's kind of a natural.
But in America, a good education, making the right choices, following through is what's going to help you get out of this situation in this community.
And what about those kids who don't have an entrepreneurial spirit or are not interested in starting a business and they really are comfortable being a worker bee, quote unquote?
Nothing wrong with that. We're all for that. As I said before, it's all about behavior. We're not trying to teach kids to be brilliant here. We're trying to teach them to be decent people and responsible. And you still have to have a fundamental education, even if you want to be an auto mechanic or what the example you gave a minute ago. We're not pushing the colleges for everything mantra that many are. All strata of life, we need people working, and as long as they're decent people and happy, that's all we're after.
Our goal is for them not to be a burden on society, basically. Not to be a burden. Because you could be poor, but you don't have to be a burden.
President Obama's quote specifically about the need for our education to start in the home. Well, we do know that in a lot of inner city communities, that's not really possible for many reasons, whether the parents, both of them work, or in this day and age, neither one of them speak, write, or even read English on the level that they need to be able to help their kids. How do you guys actually fill that void? How will you fill that void now and in the future?
Well, we're actually kind of harsh on that, and we don't have as many meetings as we'd like to, but we want to do more with parents, where we're telling them it's putting more of the responsibility on them. I'll give you an example. I was driving through downtown on the 110 freeway about 2 years ago with my goddaughter. At that time, she was 14, born and raised in this neighborhood, and we were driving, and I was pointing out certain things off the road and over here, and then somehow something made me think, and I pointed it downtown. And I said, what city is that? What is this? She didn't know. Sacramento? Is that Sacramento? California? 14 years old. And what it kind of taught me is there's fundamental things that any parent can teach their child just driving around in the car, even if you don't speak English. There's 5 or 10 fundamental things you can teach. What city you live in, what state you live in, memorize your phone number, what zip code, just fundamental things. And that's what's sad is a lot of these parents, they have so rely on and think it's, I guess, the job of the school to do all of it, that they don't even do any of it. It's very frustrating because we want these kids to be prepared for their long-term future. And you've got to have somebody teaching them the fundamental, basic things. Like I said, English or not, there are certain things any parent can teach their child. We're seeing a lot of them that are not teaching them.
I noticed that you have an ESL program for adults. How is that coming along? How is that helping maybe some of the kids whose parents don't speak English so that they can better help their kids? How is the ESL program coming along?
It's not going right now. We did do it last year for one full session. We started with about 25 parents, and by the time we ended, it was down to maybe 10 because they had dropped out. We did make a small mistake where we mixed levels within the same class. So the parents that were very beginning were in the same class with some parents that did have a little grasp of English. So when we do it again, which we're planning to do possibly in the fall or in January, we're putting the thing together now, is that we would do it in stages. It would be a beginner class, and an intermediate, and then an advanced. Yeah.
Coming up on our next episode of Newswire L.A. at Strive, our Tricia Mitchell will talk to the teachers and instructors who are the backbone of this program. We'll also check in with a familiar face here at Newswire L.A., Austin Dragon. Austin actually gave us the idea to come down here and highlight this wonderful program. In addition to everything else he does, Austin sits on the board of this program. We'll get his thoughts on his role in the organization. Then we'll take you on a guided tour of the Strive grounds. That's it for this Newswire LA broadcast. For everything Newswire LA, look us up on Facebook and Twitter at Newswire LA. For Tricia Mitchell and everyone else here at Newswire LA, I'm Chin Thomas Sangsi saying so long, and we'll see you back here next time. Stay tuned for more news on this Westlake Signal station.